Okay, we're continuing on now with the second point outlined in the essay, the second of the major points here from subsection 2. Okay, these observations, these images, these as he describes, these two socio-spatial images that have dominated the modern discourse of the social sciences concerning the people of rural Mexico. Okay, so the second point he identifies here is the social image. Sorry, I'm just going to time this lecture as well. The second image is one that I shall label center-periphery. Okay, now we have seen in the past these issues of center and periphery in this idea of modernity's development of urban centers. Okay, the role that the city plays in modernity for the necessity of industry. Okay, we see how also in a globalized sense we see the global dimension of interactivity happening through these nodal centers. Okay, so for example in Ireland, Dublin acts as the global node, and also the interaction between the globalized dimension and the Irish nation on the national community level, and one grounded in this spatial proximity as well, of course. So we've seen this relationship of center-periphery. And we can also see, of course, its relation to systems thinking. The abstract. So to continue on reading here. So the second image is one that I shall label center-periphery. The abstract expression of an idealized imperial system, it too has been realized concretely at many different levels, from the rural town to the entire world system. Okay, so this we've covered before. Okay, this idea of these nodal interaction points and these nodal systems. Okay, so this image involves three main ideas. So now we can see we're on. We have our point 2, and now we can see we've got 2A, B, and C here now as well. Okay. So first, it suggests that differences are organized concentrically around a dominant core. Okay. So thus, power and wealth are greatest at the center and diminishing gradually as one moves outwards through a series of surrounding zones, and different locations are associated with different ways of life according to the zone in which they are found. Okay, so here we can see ultimately what he's saying is that the further removed we are from these urban centers, okay, these periphery, or sorry, these centerpieces, the further we are away, or the closer we are to the periphery, the further we are to the power and the concentrated wealth. We can see a truth to this, first of all, in terms of industrial economy, but agriculturally now, as well as agricultural industry, we can see this isn't necessarily the case, but at least there is a bias, and we can also see this politically, that out of these capital cities, if you will, Dublin, for example, that there is this type of power limitation. There is an elite, and they are concentrated in one specific area. Okay. Second, this image implies a process of change in which the center exercises a privileged capacity to shape outcomes, whether it is extending its influence to the margins or molding people from the periphery who enter its terrain. Okay, so we also see that there is this presupposition, or at least in the reading of these phenomena, that change is dictated by the center to the periphery. Okay, that we see that's either it's in terms of extending influence and sort of perhaps an ideological type of conditioning, or one that's just more forceful. Okay, one where it's absolutely something just molding, or someone actually taking or developing or conditioning the form of rural life and rural existence as being dictated from the center. Okay, so say a politician in Ireland dictating how farming should operate, or sorry, a politician in Dublin dictating how farming in Roscommon should function, and so on. Okay, so we can see how this type of molding would happen. Okay. And third, it suggests that fields ordered in this way are autonomous. Each peripheral site is oriented to a single center, and each center is independent of all others at the same level. Okay, so that ultimately there is one national center. While geographically this might not necessarily be consistent, okay, not the necessary center. For example, in Ireland, Dublin isn't geographically the center, but at least we can say in terms of political influence, and that there is only ever one center. Okay, so this presupposition as well, or at least this bias that is conditioning our reading of this phenomena is forcing us to see that, say, this community in, say, Ireland is orbiting, in, say, the Midlands, say, County Laois, is orbiting around Dublin, and only around Dublin as the centre. Excluding the possibility of cultural or political or social influences from the likes of, say, Galway, Limerick, Cork, or even Belfast, which would find itself in a different demarcated national territory or political territory of Northern Ireland. Okay, or perhaps we can even look at, say, European legislation of farming being dictated from Brussels. Now, so we have this is ignoring the possibility that, say, Laois, life in Laois is being dictated by the centre periphery in Dublin, and only that, and forgetting the possibility that life in Laois is also orbiting around the centre of the European community, which itself is found in Brussels. Okay, so at least symbolically. So at least now, and actually that's a good note as well, the idea of not just geographic or identifiable center, but the symbolic role that these centers play. Okay, the potency of the symbolic act. Okay, so furthermore, we are neglecting or biasing ourselves to a one-to-one relationship of periphery and center, and that there cannot be any outside